Welcome to the weekend edition of the Nightly News, Ted. Lots to talk about in the outdoor world, but I want to start with one. The American bald eagle, protected for a number of reasons. Could you imagine if Ted Nugent went out and shot a bald eagle on Spirit of the Wild, cut the talons off, and when you aired the show, Fish and Game showed up at your house and you said, but I thought it was a vulture and I'm going to eat it. Would you get off? I'll let you address that in a second, but let's tell our listeners that may not know, 2 illegal invaders from Honduras were in Nebraska. They shot a bald eagle. They got caught. They had cut the talons off. They said that they thought it was a vulture. If that's true, why did they cut the talons off? But I'll leave that. The county sheriff charged them, wanted to pursue federal fish and game charges against them. But wait a minute, Ted. The feds came in and said, we're not going to charge them. How can this be? You and I know a bunch of examples. I'll let you get into them, where common Joe hunters do something, maybe inadvertently. You can speak to that. And they're charged to the hilt, faced with massive legal charges and jail time. And yet, if you're an illegal invader, you can shoot a bald eagle with impunity in America. Tragically sad. What's your take?
Well, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is criminal. They're a criminal organization. They are anti-hunting. And in this instance, who can't see what's going on here? If any American, any legal American were to kill a bald eagle, they would be in jail and fined up the ass, especially if they weren't a legal citizen and they were in the possession of a firearm, Keith.
Right, and they were.
So we've got the U.S. Fish and Wildlife that have failed on the bald eagle killing by invaders. We have the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. I don't know if these invaders had any alcohol or tobacco on them. Maybe we need a new organization called the Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Skateboards, because none of those things have anything to do with each other. But meanwhile, since that insane bureaucracy exists, and all you ATF guys that are getting upset, you're a bunch of pussies. You shouldn't get upset with me. You should get upset with your own bosses, because your bosses are punks. And if the ATF doesn't charge illegal invaders with the felony possession of a firearm, but they're going to charge some lady with a gun permit from Pennsylvania that drove into New Jersey to go shopping with a felony. And I've got so many examples. There are thousands of cases where good, decent, law-abiding Americans broke some stupid law that is anti-constitutional. If you need me explain what the Second Amendment means, and I don't need paperwork or a permit or a license for my Second Amendment as an American citizen, but when invaders are caught with a rifle, there are no charges. But now
Chris Brackett.
Yes, well, I mean, I could go into so many cases. They charged me with illegally killing a bear in Alaska, and the Alaska Fish and Game did not charge me because it was a new law just in the jurisdiction I was hunting. I showed it on TV, which proves there was no intent, because the last thing you want to do is, if you know you're breaking the law, you don't share it with 50 million viewers with the Spirit of the Wild TV show. And they dragged me through the mud because Barack Obama and Eric Holder, you know, the gun runners, you know, the U.S. Arm of the Mexican drug cartels, you know, those guys, Barack Obama, maybe his buddy Mike was with him too, but Eric Holder were running guns to the Mexican drug gangs, and that's okay for Barack Obama and Eric Holder, but because I stand up for real Second Amendment rights and real American freedom, Barack Obama and Eric Holder sick Jack Schmidt. Hey, Jack Schmidt, how do you even deal with your children? You have no soul, Jack Schmidt, U.S. attorney in Alaska, who demanded I get charged with illegally killing a bear when I killed a bear, one license, a bow and arrow, in a legal bow and arrow area, and they dragged me through and almost bankrupted me because they wanted to teach Ted Nugent a lesson. Well, you didn't need to teach me a lesson, because I already got the lesson. And the lesson is I'm a free man, and you punks in the federal government work for me. And so we crushed Jack Schmidt, who I can't believe hasn't even killed himself yet, with a conscience. If you have a conscience, Jack, how do you apologize for all the violations of your constitutional oath that you are guilty of? How do you explain that to your children, Jack Schmidt? and Eric Holder and Barack Obama and your buddy Mike. So the point is that the government law enforcement agencies of the United States of America saw two invaders here illegally in the illegal felony possession of a firearm, committing a felony, killing a bald eagle and eating it, and they went free. America, don't you see what's going on here? Chris Brackett killed one extra deer and his life was destroyed. And while the feds were putting Chris Brackett through this joke of a court system, thousands and thousands of deer were killed with tax dollars by government sharpshooters. Thousands of deer were killed while they're destroying Chris Brackett's life for shooting one deer. Think about it. Well, it was against the law. So fine him and take the deer back. Don't destroy a person's life by shooting one extra deer while the government is shooting thousands of deer. If it was about the deer, then you can't possibly charge a guy for shooting one extra deer when the government is shooting thousands of deer in illegal manners in Indiana and Illinois and Michigan and Wisconsin and our planet of the apes. You need to, number one, I'll make it simple. Stop the invasion. Arrest the invaders. Force the invaders to leave our country. Round up all the invaders and get them the hell out of my country, because hardworking people from around the world have come here legally through the legal immigration system, and they're being pissed upon because our government is welcoming illegal invaders who shoot and eat bald eagles. Figure it out.
And you know what, Ted, before I let you go, when you think about everything that you just said, there's an attack on, this week we talked about the First Amendment, religious freedoms, freedom of speech is under attack. The Second Amendment, gun rights are under attack. Our hunting rights are under attack. Really, all of the traditional values that we hold dear in America are under attack. And no more importantly than in the state of Wisconsin, where they have a Supreme Court election coming up April 4. And the two candidates up there couldn't provide the Wisconsin voters with a more stark difference. You have the lady up there, can't even pronounce her name, who is anti-gun, anti-hunting, anti-free speech. Basically, everything is on the line in Wisconsin if she wins. And the difference couldn't be clearer in Wisconsin, Ted. I think you're very familiar with that up there. I pray that the good people in Wisconsin, especially our fellow hunters in Wisconsin, make an informed choice up there. I'll give you the last word, Ted, but let's finish with that Wisconsin election where truly everything is on the line up there April 4.
You know, I love Wisconsin. I've been rock and rolling Wisconsin for, 60 some years. And the Fred Bear song continues to be the number one song in Wisconsin. I thank everybody up there for that positive energy, spirit, and attitude, and that piss and vinegar, and that work ethic, and God, family, country, Constitution, Bill of Rights, Ten Commandments, Golden Rule, Declaration of Independence, the law and order pulse of people in the asset column of Wisconsin. And you are facing a do or die moment, because there's this entity known as the Supreme Court who makes the decisions about justice, law and order, freedom, and God-given rights in Wisconsin. You're coming up to a vote in April, and you have two candidates. I have a guy, Daniel Kelly, who stands up for God, family, country. He supports the hunting lifestyle. He supports real Second Amendment rights, real First Amendment rights. He knows that men should only be able to go to the bathroom in a men's room, and that women are the only ones allowed in a women's bathroom. That's what Daniel Kelly stands for. And if those are the things you stand for, you better get him into your Supreme Court, who will determine your quality of life in life itself in Wisconsin. Contrarily, this Janet Protokowicz, I'm not sure that's the right pronunciation, but her name is Janet Protokowicz, and she is against the Second Amendment. She doesn't believe that we have the right to keep and bear arms. She'll tell you she's for the Second Amendment, but she infringes. She wants all your God-given Second Amendment rights infringed, and she wants to be your Supreme Court justice in Wisconsin. She's against the hunting lifestyle. She thinks hunting should end. She thinks the government should kill your animals for you. Look her up. She is horrible for freedom in Wisconsin. So Wisconsin, if you believe in freedom and God, family, country, law and order, and the hunting conservation lifestyle and the right to self-defense, you've got to vote in a Supreme Court justice like Daniel Kelly, who will stand up for what you believe in, because this Janet creature is against everything good in America and Wisconsin. And the world is watching you, Wisconsin. Vote like your life depends on it, because your Supreme Court has so much control that your life depends on it. I hope we vote in Daniel Kelly. He's the right guy for God, family, country, law and order, and the foundational values that make America great and the Wisconsin lifestyle so wonderful. Wisconsin, it's up to you.
And Ted, I would encourage all of our listeners, if you're in Wisconsin, go to huntthevote.org. If you're not registered, there's still time to do that. Go to huntthevote.org. Make sure you put your address and all your information in there. It's simple. A dumb bow hunter like myself can figure it out. Make sure you're registered, figure out where your polling place was, and most importantly, as Ted said, get to the polls if you're in Wisconsin on April 4, because your lifestyle and maybe even life itself depends on it. Ted, we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Keith. Thanks, Tim. And God bless America. Thank everybody for supporting the Nightly Nuge. Tell everybody you know that truth, logic, and common sense is alive and well at the Nightly Nuge. And on Shemaine's Real America Voice, Faith and Freedom, every Sunday morning. And on Ted Nugent, Real America Voice, Spirit Campfire, truth, logic, and common sense at the end of a crowbar. Don't you feel the love?